Many here in the U.S. are eagerly anticipating the easing of travel restrictions to Cuba. More than 5 decades ago, Americans frequented Cuba's white sandy beaches and resorts. With Obama's announcement of the restoration of diplomatic relations, travel agencies are now seeing a surge in American travelers inquiring about vacationing on the island. Tom Popper is president of Insight Cuba, which specializes in what's called people-to-people travel, legalized specialized travel to Cuba for Americans. Hi, Tom. Welcome to Arise America.
Hi, Debbie. Great to be here.
I understand that inquiries have really surged since the president made this announcement earlier this week. But in truth, you have been organizing trips for Americans to Cuba for quite some time.
That's correct. We were actually one of the pioneers back in 2000 under the similar provision of people-to-people under President Clinton, and have been doing so really ever since.
I think, though, the average American, if they do travel to the Caribbean, of course, have not been to Cuba, and they only see the news footage that is put on the evening news, have no idea what the island of Cuba is like. First of all, just talk in general about the natural resources of what Cuba is like and what it looks like.
You know, it's amazing because you said it just right. We all have this picture in our head of what Cuba is going to be like when we get there, if we get there. And the thing that amazes most people is it's a bright society full of color, vibrance, culture, and they're a warm and happy people. And that's the first thing I think every American is astonished by, because we get questions all the time. How am I going to be treated when I get to Cuba? And they're treated with respect and friendship, and everybody wants to reach out to. But even in addition to that, Cuba is such an incredibly diverse country. You have the Caribbean Sea, you have incredible cities with Spanish colonial architecture on such a widespread basis. It's just jaw-dropping how incredibly beautiful it is. You have mountains, you have valleys, you have rivers. It really is a country that has it all.
What do the beaches look like? I kind of want to know, Tom.
They're incredibly beautiful, like many Caribbean destinations. They have that turquoise blue water and that soft white sand. What's unique about Cuba is it's unspoiled. Much of the coastline has been undeveloped, and there's thousands of miles of it. Back in 1996, they started tourism on the island and promoting beach destinations, but it hasn't reached any level that we see elsewhere. So there's a lot of incredibly beautiful coastline.
Tom, tell us more about some of the cultural hotspots in Cuba.
Well, a visit to Cuba, and you really can't avoid it, is not without music, dancing, and the arts. It is not just part of their culture, it is their culture. You see people singing on the streets. You go to the famous Malecón, which is the seaside boulevard that separates the Caribbean Sea from the city. Cubans are out there singing, playing guitar. You could walk down a street. I've walked to meetings and heard music emanating down a street and had to follow it, and then ended up being late for the meeting. But the artist community is widespread across Cuba. The promotion and the embrace of the arts is just incredible.
It will be some time. Of course, the trade embargo is still firmly in place as per the law passed by Congress. Don't know whether or not that will be lifted, although travel to Cuba will probably get easier. But tourism to the levels that Americans are used to takes infrastructure. First of all, does Cuba currently have an infrastructure to handle an influx of tourists? And if not, how long do you expect that would take?
Well, it depends how many tourists we're talking about. There is a limited infrastructure. I spoke to the Minister of Tourism a number of years ago and asked him that very question. And I said, you know, once things do ease, and one day they will, hopefully we'll be alive for it, what would the scenario look like? And he said, well, we've been anticipating this for many years. Until we know more that Americans will be coming, we're going to wait before we make the investments. But there is incredible hotels in the cities of Havana and Santiago de Cuba, which is all the way on the east side. There's in Havana, in the old city, there's numerous hotels that are classic, been restored. They're in a UNESCO heritage site. There are hotels that can accommodate many Americans across the island. So there is capacity, but like any destination, it will become popular. especially during the peak seasons of December through April. So it's a great time to go, and it's a great time to book your trip to Cuba and go now.
Yeah, I suspect that when the time comes, it will be popular. If for no other reason, it's so close by. Tom Popper, thank you so much. Good to talk to you.
Thank you, Debbie. Take care.